You were talking about DMT, dimethyltryptamine, with me earlier. Would you mind elaborating on that and discussing that? From what I'm hearing, you might be able to stimulate DMT through your breathing. Could you go deeper into that?
Yeah, DMT, dimethyltryptamine.
Look it up on. If you look up DMT, Joe Rogan, he talks all about what it is. But
yes, and we are working now with John Chavez and Rick Strassman, going to do a project, a documentary, and scientific research on it. And show that we do not need an endogenous trigger to make the DMT working.
Do you think it'll be just as potent as if you actually smoke the DMT? Or
if you go deep enough, yes. If you go consequently past these conditions.
How deep have you come? I don't want to.
Oh, deep, really deep.
Have you talked, have you talked to anybody else on the other side potentially?
Yes. Yeah, you see them, you see entities, etc.
Who?
But I don't. At that point, I have no interest of being there. I saw all the lights possible, all the three-dimensional other realities existent. I saw them, but once again, it's not my time to be there. My time right now is to be here, completely. And to do my mission. I'm a missionary, and I feel I gotta be here bringing this knowledge that everybody is able to become happy, strong, and healthy. Which is, part of that is learning how to release old trauma. Old trauma, fears, inhibitions, blockages. And therefore, we got DMT. DMT normally is used in the rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep, and that is to release unworked out visual and sensorical income of the day, which has not been worked out, the subconscious, and that's in the dream state. And then you have, at the time of death, you got this soul has got to leave the body, so it needs to shut down the body. And therein is also the subconscious, and for releasing that, the DMT is being released, and that's what we call the film of life at the time of death.
Control, no hocus pocus, just the magic of your physiology. Make it work, guys! It's your depth, it's your control into your brain. Nobody else's, no blah blah, just make it work. Deeply in, letting go. Your vessel. Charge up the current. Oh, faster! Okay, calm down! 8, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fully in! Fully out! Well done.
It's really bizarre to be in a room with a bunch of people who are tripping out from breathing. You get these tingly sensations throughout your hands and your body, so it feels like everything's vibrating, and then you get kind of like a sense of euphoria. And for me, that was it. You cried.
Yeah, mine was so weird. All my hands went like this, they just locked, and I could not move them. Then I just cried, and then I couldn't stop crying. And I also wasn't thinking about anything sad. It was just like, it just came up.
It's hard to talk about it without sounding really cliche, but when I first did the breathing, in the middle of it, I remember thinking, like, I'm so happy, I just want to get up and hug all of you people, I love you, I love all of you. And I guess that's how you become a hippie, pretty much.
Yeah.
I was amazed to see some of the reactions that people had here. What's happening when people have these kind of big responses?
What we do, we are going deeply into the physiology,
past the conditioning. And what appears, people begin to cry, or they release anger. Whatever is hidden deeper than the conditioning. These techniques make it quite able to go really deep.
I guess it's kind of similar to when a psychologist gets someone to relive past trauma and come to terms with it.
We do not need psychotherapy. Fuck off. Just a little bit of breathing. Just bring back the control within yourself. Connect back with the body. This time we are able to cleanse it all.
Probably as long as Homo sapiens have been around in our present genetic form, we've been using some kind of altered state to connect with the world, to learn what it's all about, and to discover stuff about ourselves and what to do next. So primates produce DMT. And whether or not that's actually involved in holotropic breathwork, nobody knows. And whether the pineal gland is actually the only thing you need to produce DMT in psychedelic experiences. But the holotropic breathwork psychedelic experiences occur similar to DMT in that you're in and out of them like in an instant. You're breathing along and all of a sudden you're gone. And you become a whale or a bird or, some solar system or a goddess or a demon or whatever. And then you're back.
You said that very blasely, as if that I've never turned into any of those things. It seems like quite an experience to me. So you're going through this system of breathing, and literally you can just drop into a full body hallucination.
Completely. And it doesn't matter whether you're sort of oriented to this type of experience or not. I've had 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds have these experiences who had no clue that this is what they're going to get into. I mean, the first patient I ever did holotropic breathwork with was a 14-year-old who re-experienced the night he committed suicide and then successfully completed it during the breathwork and became the universe. Yeah, I didn't trust it. I kept him in the hospital and rebreathed him the next week. And that time he went directly into being the universe. Then he said he became pure consciousness. Then he became the universe and pure consciousness together. And, that's written about in the Rig Veda and Buddhist texts, and it's a big deal in the non-duality circles and all that sort of stuff. And here's a 14-year-old who has no previous experience, did not know anything about philosophy or psychology, had no spiritual background, and he basically had an experience that would have blown a lot of dedicated Buddhist monks, Zen monks, out of the water. These breathing techniques actually will alter the consciousness to such a degree that you can go places in an altered state. Generally with eyes closed, but sometimes even with eyes open.
It's very different from having wishful fantasies or be doing some daydreaming. It's an inner travel comparable to the space travel.
Pioneering consciousness researcher Stanislav Grof has spent more than 4 decades researching the science of the ancient shamans. He says shamans also used breathing techniques to alter their consciousness. He teaches modern travelers to... Grof believes the non-ordinary states this can produce were a fundamental part of all ancient cultures.
The Western industrial civilization is really the only group of people throughout human history that does not hold the non-ordinary states in high esteem. Every other group sort of a tremendous appreciation of these states, and they spend a lot of time and energy trying to develop very safe and effective ways of inducing these non-ordinary states.
Human consciousness remains largely a mystery to science. It's believed our awareness comes from a complex interaction between sensory signals, memories, and the subconscious mind. Grof and others argue the subconscious plays a more powerful role than we imagine. That we use it to develop ideas, and through the ages, our ancestors used it to develop human intelligence.
The ideas, the inspiration that can come from the ordinary states can help later when the person returns into the ordinary state, to substantially improve one's way of being in the world.
Advocates of this theory suggest inspirational ideas can come from a transpersonal realm, hidden from everyday awareness. That the dreamlike imagery in altered states often contains solutions to the questions on our minds.
many people in the transpersonal field feel that all genuine, really deep creativity comes from the transpersonal realms. Obviously, you have to do your homework. I mean, you have to sort of consume somehow the information of a particular discipline. You have to be aware of the problems. You have to define them very clearly. But the solution very frequently comes in a non-ordinary state.